I never thought the man my mom married would one day shove me so hard that I'd hit the floor in front of my entire family on Christmas Eve, of all days. But that night, something inside me snapped. I remember the heat of embarrassment burning across my cheeks, the scrape of the chair legs against the wooden floor, and the sudden silence as everyone turned toward me with wide, uncomfortable eyes. And then my stepdad, Michael, leaned over the table, pointed his finger inches from my face, and said the words that made my stomach drop. "This seat is for my real daughter. Get out." Before diving into the story, comment where you're watching from and don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss the latest stories. The push hurt. The fall hurt. But what cut me deepest was that my mother didn't say a single word. She didn't reach for me, didn't defend me, didn't even look at me. She just stared down into her plate, pretending she didn't see what the man she married had done. And in that painful moment, as I knelt on the floor with everyone staring, I realized something that made my chest ache. I didn't belong in that house anymore. So I stood up slowly, brushed off my knees, swallowed every bit of humiliation, and walked out of that dining room without arguing. No yelling, no crying, no scene. Just silence. They thought I left to cry or sulk, but what they didn't know is that I wasn't walking away from the problem. I was walking toward a solution. One that would change everything for Michael. One he never saw coming. By the way, my name is Haley Collins, I'm 23, and up until that Christmas Eve, I was just a stressed-out college student trying to balance rent, exams, and working at a cafe to afford textbooks. I had enough problems already. I never needed a cruel, insecure man to make things worse. But that's exactly what happened when my mom decided to remarry 3 years ago. Michael never liked me, but he never said it directly. He preferred little digs, small, sharp actions meant to remind me I wasn't part of his real family. He'd change the Wi-Fi password without telling me, leave groceries in the car, and call Chloe down to help but forget I existed. Lock the garage at night, so I couldn't get my bike out for work. He'd make dinner for 3 people but not 4. It was the kind of slow, steady mistreatment that eats at you piece by piece. But he never pushed me. Not until that night. I had just come home from a long Christmas Eve shift at the cafe. My hands were cold, my hair smelled like caramel syrup, and I was still wearing my black apron because I didn't have time to change. I rushed inside hoping for warmth, for holiday lights, maybe even a moment of peace. And for a few minutes, it looked like that might happen. I helped set the table, placed warm cinnamon rolls out, and sat down in the only empty seat I saw. Apparently, that was Chloe's special spot. She walked in late, and Michael reacted like I had just insulted his ancestors. He stood so fast his chair screeched. "Haley, you're in the wrong seat." I gave a polite smile. "Oh, I didn't know. I can move." But before I could even stand fully, he grabbed the back of my chair and shoved it forward. My body lurched. My knees hit the floor. My palms scraped against the carpet. Chloe gasped. My aunt froze mid-bite. My cousin stared. And my mother looked away. Then came the words, "This seat is for my real daughter. Get out." My throat tightened, but I didn't give him the satisfaction of seeing me cry. Instead, I stood calmly, walked out the front door, and drove away, far enough that their house looked tiny in the rearview mirror. I ended up in the empty parking lot behind the cafe where I worked. Snow piled around the edges, streetlights buzzing overhead, my breath fogging up the windshield. I sat there gripping the steering wheel, heart pounding, trying to figure out why the hell I was still letting that man walk all over me. And then I remembered something. Something important. Something Michael hoped no one would ever know. His secret. A secret I discovered months earlier completely by accident. I wasn't supposed to see it. He would have lost his mind if he knew I did. And after tonight, after he shoved me like I was worthless, there was no way I was letting that secret die quietly. Because I realized something in that dark parking lot. Michael had taken enough from me. He had made me feel small long enough. He had shown me exactly what I meant to him. Now it was his turn to find out what he meant to the people whose opinions he desperately cared about. So while my family probably assumed I was crying in my car, I was actually setting a chain reaction in motion, one that would spread through the town, through his workplace, through every corner of his carefully crafted life. He went to bed that night completely unaware. But by the time he woke up the next morning to 4 missed calls, everything had already begun to collapse. I sat in the parking lot for almost an hour, replaying the moment in my head again and again. The push, the fall, the silence, the shame. The kind of humiliation that doesn't fade after a night's sleep. But anger slowly replaced the hurt. Not wild anger, cold anger. The kind that gives you clarity. The kind that makes you think clearly enough to do something you never imagined doing before. The secret I remembered wasn't small. It wasn't petty. It wasn't something Michael could explain away. A few months earlier, he'd asked me to help him move some boxes from the garage because he'd hurt his back. While lifting one, the bottom tore open and a folder spilled onto the concrete floor. Bank statements, printed emails, and receipts, all from a woman who clearly wasn't my mother. At first, I thought maybe they were old documents from before he married her. But the dates told a different story. They were recent. And the emails? Intimate. Very intimate. Michael was cheating. Actively. Boldly. And not with just anyone. With his coworker, a woman named Lacey who lived one town over and had a boyfriend who worked with him too. I'd stuffed everything back into the torn box before he could notice, but the information had lodged itself in my mind like a thorn. I didn't plan on using it. I wasn't the type of person who wanted to destroy anyone's life. But that was before he shoved me to the floor like I was nothing.
Now?
I had no hesitation.
No guilt.
No second thoughts. I didn't want to destroy him. I wanted him to destroy himself. And his own actions would do the work. All I had to do was shine a light where he didn't want anyone looking. So I pulled out my phone, took a deep breath, and started typing. I knew exactly where to begin, with Lacey's boyfriend, Adam. He wasn't hard to find. He and Michael followed each other on Facebook. Their names popped up on the same company holiday photos. I clicked Adam's profile. His status was set to public. The man posted everything: gym photos, fishing pictures, workday selfies. I scrolled until I saw a picture of him and Lacey at a pumpkin patch last fall. They looked happy. Too happy to be dealing with what was coming. At first, I typed out a long explanation, but then I realized I didn't need to say much. I didn't need to convince him. The evidence would do that. So I sent him one picture from the folder, a screenshot of an email between Michael and Lacey booking a hotel room under fake names. The subject line alone was enough to send someone into a rage. 10 seconds later, he saw the message. 30 seconds later, he read it. 1 minute later, he typed back 2 words. "Who are you?" I told him. Not everything, just enough. I explained I lived with Michael, that I accidentally discovered the emails months ago, and that I didn't step in earlier because I didn't want to get in the middle of something. But after what happened tonight, I wasn't going to protect him anymore. Adam was quiet for a long time. I stared at the 3 little typing dots on my screen, my heart racing. Then his message finally popped up. "Send everything you have." And I did. Every email, every receipt, every screenshot, every hotel reservation, every timestamped message that proved Michael wasn't the devoted family man he pretended to be. I didn't know what Adam planned to do.
I didn't ask.
I didn't need to know. He was hurt, furious, and betrayed. Men like him didn't stay quiet. After sending everything, I leaned back in my car seat, exhausted. Snowflakes drifted past the windshield, glowing under streetlights. My fingers were numb from the cold, but my chest felt strangely warm. Not with happiness, not with victory, but with relief. A strange, deep, settling relief. It wasn't revenge yet, but it was the beginning. I drove home around midnight. The house was quiet. Everyone had gone to sleep. I walked in without making noise, not because I cared to be respectful, but because I didn't want to see any of their faces. I went straight to my room, closed the door, and wrapped myself in a blanket, trying to calm my racing thoughts. Around 2 a.m., my phone buzzed. It was a message request, someone I didn't know. It was Lacey. "Why are you sending Adam lies?" I didn't reply. I didn't owe her anything. I wasn't the one who cheated. I wasn't the one who lied. I wasn't the one who pushed someone to the floor and pretended it was normal. At 3 a.m., another message came in, this time from Adam. Thank you. You'll want to be awake in the morning. I didn't know what that meant, but when morning came, I found out. Michael woke up to 4 missed calls, 3 from Adam, 1 from Lacey, and each voicemail sounded more chaotic than the last. I could hear his footsteps pacing in the hallway, fast and uneven, like someone whose world had cracked open overnight. I heard him whispering harshly, then shouting, then slamming a door. He had no idea I was the reason. Not yet. But he was about to find out. I woke up to the sound of muffled yelling coming from downstairs. At first, I wasn't sure if I was dreaming. But then I heard it again. Michael's voice cracking under pressure, louder than I'd ever heard it. I slipped out of bed and stood by my door, pressing my ear against the wood. Adam, calm down. Just calm down, Michael shouted, his voice rough and panicked. I couldn't hear the words on the other end of the call, but I could tell Adam wasn't calming down. He sounded furious, even through the thin walls, even through the phone speaker, even through the distance. His voice carried rage like a wildfire. Michael's tone changed from defensive to desperate within seconds. It's not what you think. Adam, listen to me.
Please.
Just listen. No one pleads like that unless they've been caught.
Completely.
Fully. Without any way out. I stepped away from the door and sat on my bed, pulling my blanket over my legs. I knew things would escalate today, but I didn't know how. I just knew it was going to be messy, very messy. A few minutes later, the house erupted with another round of shouting. This time, it wasn't from the phone. It was inside. Michael, what is this? My mother's voice trembled so loudly the window beside my bed shook. She had finally found something. Either the emails or the missed calls or a message from Adam, or maybe Lacey had panicked and texted her. Whatever it wasn't small. I opened my door slightly to listen. I can explain, Michael stuttered. You'd better, my mom snapped back. Because I just got a message from a man named Adam who says you've been sleeping with his girlfriend. Are you kidding me? Are you out of your mind? Haley, Michael suddenly yelled. Haley, get down here. My stomach tightened. He really thought he could drag me into this to cover for himself. Pathetic. I stayed in my room. My mom, however, wasn't having it. Don't you dare bring her into this. What does she have to do with your cheating? Michael was pacing like a caged animal. I could hear his heavy footsteps thudding across the hardwood floor. She must have sent something. She had to. Who else would do this? Someone set me up. Someone tried to make me look like a monster. I almost laughed. Make him look like a monster? All I did was hand someone the truth. I didn't say a word. I didn't go downstairs. I didn't defend myself. I didn't reveal anything. I just let the truth hang there and choke him. Things got louder. My mother's voice cracked. So you admit something happened? You cheated on me? Silence. Then Michael broke. I made a mistake, he whispered, breath shaking. A mistake? My mother spit back. You booked hotel rooms. You sent emails. You lied to me for months. That's not a mistake. That's a relationship. Chloe came into the hallway, rubbing her eyes. Dad? Mom? Why are you yelling? She looked confused, scared even. She was only 16, and she didn't deserve any of this. I didn't want to hurt her, and that's exactly why I stayed quiet. This wasn't about her. It wasn't her fault her father was a liar. I stepped back into my room before she could see me. I wasn't ready to face her. Not yet. Downstairs, Michael had finally realized that his world was falling apart. He switched from yelling to pleading. Begging really. Please, please, just listen to me. I can fix this. I can explain everything. But my mother wasn't listening anymore. Get out of my sight. I don't want to look at you. Then I heard my name again, but softer this time. Haley. My mom's voice cracked. I hesitated, then walked downstairs. My heart thumped loudly with each step. When I reached the living room, my mom's eyes were glossy, filled with betrayal. Michael's face was red, sweating, panicked. Chloe stood frozen by the staircase. My mom looked at me like she needed answers. Did you know anything about this? I took a long breath. The room felt heavy, thick, suffocating with tension. I didn't want to lie, but I also didn't want to soften the truth. So I told her the simple, honest version. I found the emails months ago. I didn't know what to do. I didn't want to interfere. I didn't want to hurt you. Michael pointed at me aggressively. So, you did this. You ruined everything. I didn't even flinch. I looked at him calmly.
No.
You did that when you decided cheating was easier than loyalty. My mom covered her face with her hands, breaking down. Chloe sat on the bottom step, tears running down her cheeks silently. And Michael, he snapped. I should have kicked you out when I had the chance, he yelled at me. I stepped closer, my voice steady. You tried. Remember last night? When you pushed me in front of everyone? When you told me I didn't belong at your table? He opened his mouth, but nothing came out. My mom stared at him like she was seeing him clearly for the first time.
Truly seeing him.
Then her voice came out quiet but firm. Michael, leave.
Get out.
He didn't move. Now, she screamed. And finally he left. Slammed the door so hard the frame rattled. The house fell silent. My mom collapsed onto the couch, her hand shaking. Chloe stared at the door as if she couldn't believe what had just happened. None of us spoke for a long time. But the day wasn't over. Not even close. Because what happened next was something even I didn't see coming. The hours after Michael stormed out were strangely quiet. Too quiet, like the house was holding its breath. My mom didn't move from the couch. Chloe disappeared into her room and shut the door softly, like she was afraid any noise would shatter what was left of our family. I stood in the middle of the living room, not sure what to do with my hands, my thoughts, or my guilt. Even though I knew Michael caused all of this, part of me still wondered if exposing him had opened a wound my mother wasn't prepared to face. But the truth was already out. The damage was done. And the fallout was far from over. Around noon, my mom finally spoke. Her voice was drained, almost hollow. I don't understand how he could do this to us.
To me.
To Chloe. I sat down beside her. You didn't deserve it. Neither did she. Her eyes flicked up to me, red and puffy, full of months' worth of confusion suddenly making sense. Is that why he was always so cold? So defensive? So angry all the time? I nodded. People who lie for a long time, they start treating everyone around them like the enemy. She leaned into me, and I wrapped my arms around her. I hadn't hugged her like that in years. It felt strange but familiar, sad but comforting. The doorbell rang. We both froze. I stood up slowly, my pulse ticking in my ears. When I opened the door, the last person I expected to see was standing on our porch.
Adam.
Tall, broad shoulders, jaw tight, eyes full of fire. He didn't come alone. Lacey was standing behind him, arms folded tightly across her chest. Her face looked twisted with a mix of shame, panic, and anger. I stepped onto the porch, pulling the door halfway shut behind me. You shouldn't be here. I need to talk to him, Adam said, voice low and vibrating with rage. He's not here. Adam's jaw clenched so hard I could hear the teeth grinding. Where did he go? I don't know, I said honestly. He left after everything blew up. Lacey looked like she hadn't slept. She stepped forward, voice shaky. Please, can we just talk? All of this is getting out of hand. I stared at her, unable to hide the disbelief. Getting out of hand? You two have been sneaking around for months. She swallowed hard, eyes darting. I made a mistake. Adam shot her a cold glare. Don't call it a mistake. Call it what it was. Before I could respond, another car screeched up to the curb. A familiar, angry voice spilled out before the door, even fully opened. What are you doing here? Michael yelled as he stumbled out of the driver's seat, face flushed with stress and humiliation. The tension exploded instantly. You ruined my relationship, Adam shouted, stepping toward him. You ruined your own. Michael shot back. My mom came outside then, her eyes locking onto Michael with a fierce, wounded energy I had never seen before. Get off my property, Michael. He ignored her, He was too focused on Lacey. You told him? After everything? After I protected you? Lacey looked terrified. I didn't say anything. Someone exposed us. Michael turned toward me. And in that moment, I realized the exact second. He understood. His face twisted. It was you. I didn't move.
Didn't blink.
I didn't expose you. I exposed the truth. He stepped closer until he was inches from me, pointing the same accusing finger he had used at the Christmas table. You did this. You destroyed my life. My mom immediately stepped between us, pushing him back. You destroyed your own life, Michael. You cheated. You lied. You humiliated my daughter. And now you want to blame her? Adam stepped forward, fed up. You think you can just cheat with my girlfriend and walk around like a saint? You're disgusting. Michael spun on him. Stay out of this. But before another punch of words or fists could be thrown, a police car rolled slowly down the street. And everyone went still. The officer stepped out, hand resting lightly near his belt. Is there a problem here? No one answered. It was Lacey who broke the silence first, her voice cracking. This is all my fault. Everything came pouring out. Michael's cheating, the confrontation, the screaming, the accusations. The officer listened carefully, piecing together the chaos like he'd seen this same scene 100 times. Finally, he looked at Michael. Sir, you need to leave the property.
Now.
If you return causing issues again, we'll take further action. Michael's face trembled with a mix of rage and helplessness. He looked at my mom like he wanted her to defend him. She didn't. She didn't even look back. He walked to his car, slammed the door, and peeled out of the driveway. Lacey burst into tears. Adam didn't comfort her. He walked away from her like she was nothing more than a chapter that had finally closed. She tried calling after him, but he didn't look back. And suddenly the porch felt unbearably cold. The officer left after making sure things were calm. Lacey stood alone on the sidewalk for a long moment before finally turning and stumbling back to her car. When everything was quiet again, my mom let out a long, shaky breath. This isn't the end, she said softly, almost to herself. He's not done. She was right. Michael wasn't the kind of man to let humiliation settle quietly. And the storm that was coming next was darker than anything we'd faced yet. The thing about revenge is that it feels sharp and satisfying in the moment, but the real impact comes later, when the dust settles and the truth finally stands alone with no one to hide behind. When my stepdad, Mark, woke up that morning and saw those missed calls, he thought the storm had already passed. He didn't know that storm was just beginning. But what happened afterward, honestly, even I didn't expect it to unfold the way it did. That morning, my phone buzzed again. It was Mom. I didn't answer. I let it ring while I made my coffee, standing in the quiet of my new apartment. The silence felt earned. It felt like something I had bought with years of pain I finally walked away from. When the ringing stopped, a voicemail popped up, followed by a text. Please call me. Things have gotten worse. Worse. That word hung in the air. I didn't know if she meant worse for her, worse for Mark, or worse for the family. But a part of me, maybe the part that always wanted to protect her, finally caved. I called her back. She answered on the first ring, her voice shaking. Emily, you don't understand what you've done. I didn't say anything. She continued. Mark didn't sleep last night. His boss called him to come in early today. They found financial inconsistencies. They're reviewing everything. They're looking at him. I closed my eyes. She had no idea that wasn't even the main part of it. His boss wasn't calling because of some random schedule change. He was calling because those documents I'd sent made it impossible to ignore what Mark had been doing behind the scenes. It was bigger than she thought. Bigger than I imagined. Years of tax lies, fake reports, hidden accounts. He wasn't just a bully. He was a fraud who treated everyone in his life like a stepping stone. Emily, Mom whispered, they suspended him on the spot. They told him he may be facing charges. They're investigating everything. I heard her sniffle, and for the first time, instead of guilt, I felt something different. Sadness, maybe. But not for him. Never for him. For her. For the woman who chose a man who treated her daughter like a stranger. For the woman who let someone like him shrink her whole world. I tried to warn you, I finally said, keeping my voice steady. But you never listened. There was a long silence. When she finally spoke again, her voice cracked in half. He's blaming you for everything. Of course he was. But the truth is, the dominoes were always going to fall. I just nudged the first one. Later that day, while I was at work, my sister-in-law sent me a text. Please don't come to Mom's. Mark is losing it. He's throwing things. He's saying you ruined his life. I stared at the message. I thought about the Christmas table. The way he shoved me like I didn't belong. The way everyone just stared. The way my mother didn't move. The way my plate shattered on the floor while I swallowed my humiliation like it was part of dinner.
No.
I didn't ruin anything.
He did.
Still, a strange calm washed over me when I got home. I lit a candle. I made dinner. I finally felt safe. My life was small and quiet, but it was mine. No one could push me away from my own life ever again. That night, I got a message from my little stepsister, Lily, the one he'd called his real daughter. She wrote, "Emily, I'm sorry for what he did to you.
I didn't know he was like that.
I don't want to be like him." I sat there staring at her words for a long moment. She was only 12. She didn't ask to be part of any of this. I responded gently, "None of this is your fault. Take care of yourself." A while later, Mom texted me again. "He's gone. He left after yelling for an hour. I don't know where he is. I don't know what to do." I didn't reply. Not because I didn't care, but because I knew this was something she had to walk through on her own. It wasn't my job anymore to save her from the choices she made. The next morning, the news reached me through a cousin. Mark had been officially fired. Full termination. Company lawyers were preparing documents. His bank accounts were frozen pending investigation. Everything he built on lies was collapsing faster than he could run from it. I expected to feel triumphant. Victorious. Like some movie moment with dramatic music behind me. But instead, I felt something softer. Lighter. Like breathing out after holding your breath for years. My revenge wasn't loud. It wasn't explosive. It didn't involve shouting or chaos. It was simply the truth catching up to him. A week later, I drove by my mom's house to drop off some things for Lily, quietly, with no intention of going inside. Mom opened the door anyway. She looked tired, smaller, like the weight of the world had finally settled onto her shoulders. She stepped outside. "Emily," she said softly, "I should have protected you. I know that now." For the first time, she didn't defend him. She didn't make excuses. She didn't ask me to forgive him. She just stood there, finally seeing me. I nodded. "You still can," I said. "By protecting yourself." She looked down, tears falling. I didn't hug her. I didn't step closer. But I didn't walk away either. For the first time in years, we simply existed together without him filling the space with his anger. As I turned to leave, she whispered, "You saved us from him." Maybe I did. Maybe I didn't. But I knew one thing. I saved myself. And that was enough. Driving home, I realized something I wish I'd learned sooner. Sometimes revenge isn't about getting even. Sometimes it's about removing the people who break you, so you finally have room to grow. Mark lost everything he built because he tried to tear me down. I didn't ruin his life.
He did.
All I did was shine a light. And sometimes that's all the revenge you need. Thank you for listening to my story. If you felt even a little connected to what I went through, don't forget to support this channel. Hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on the notifications so you never miss another story from Revenge Files. Your support helps these real voices get heard. I'll see you in the next one.